Hoodie guy coming back here with another Kaspa video. So 1,367 Kaspa gives you 121 millionth, pretty much right around 121 millionth ownership of the Kaspa network, similar to having one Bitcoin. I guess right now at today's prices is actually $103.65. And so the risk to reward there is pretty good, for not very large amount of money, someone can get a pretty good amount of ownership of this decentralized network. Now we don't know the exact future of really anything, even Bitcoin, even though it's got more money flowing into it, and I think a lot of big money is going to flow into it. Um, but right now we're coming to the business end of this bull market, whether it's a few months, October, November, December, where a lot of people are calling for a top. Um, but you can see the hash rate's chugging along 622. It has pulled back with the price down. Imagine if the price goes back up, then more miners will come online, but it's still holding strong enough to maintain the security budget. This guy, you've probably seen him on X a lot, VJ Kalash. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, butchering that. Sorry about that. But he commented that Caspo is a scam, and then a bunch of Caspians were in his, replying to him, and he came back, and it seems like he's open to learning about Caspa. I know some people in Caspa also hold Bitcoin, uh, you know, and they think that maybe Bitcoin ends up a store of value, Caspa is a store of value, and more of a transactional currency. We don't know how that's going to pay out, but you can see that I did see that Matthew Crater from the Bitcoin University was in one of his replies, just saying that Bitcoin's already won because it's 2 trillion and Caspa is 2 billion. And that's the one thing about any of this, is that you just don't know the possibilities. Um, how much Caspa do we need, and what return do you think we'll see this year? Well, it depends. I can't really answer that for everyone because we're all in different situations. Uh, Even living in the United States, living in Alabama has different cost of living, or Texas versus California or New York. If you live in, say, Thailand or something like that, you don't need as much money. My guess is that you would probably, to guarantee that, you'd really need to be rich, you'd probably already need to have, I'd probably say, in the high hundreds of thousands or million, a couple million. I mean, and maybe a few hundred thousand. Well, if it blows up, maybe a few hundred thousand for this cycle. I don't know, anywhere, you know, up close to a dollar. If things go right, maybe a couple bucks. I don't know. I used to think $2 to $5. I'm not sure, but we'll see. I mean, once altcoin season hits, things can be different, but it's really hard to predict what someone needs. But I think that, it's got a good shot between like 70 cents and $2. And, it just depends on how the narratives catch on. We'll talk about this. I don't know. You've obviously, most people have been talking about wallet number 2. There's some other wallets like wallet 6. Wallet 2, as far as I know, they've been getting most of it from Bybit and Gate.io. And they've got, over 3% of the supply, I believe. And so we don't know who that is. Crypto Pumps had a video yesterday where he was kind of breaking down this article and about the KEF and the DFW Labs, who's worked with different exchanges, including Binance, OKX, Bybit, Coinbase Futures. Their market maker. Some people are thinking that it could be a market maker, and they could be working with one exchange, multiple exchanges. We don't know, but there's the tricky part about investing is that there's so many different scenarios that can play out. There's the dream scenario for Caspa, which is, you know, people are using Caspa.com. Bitcoin dominance falls. We get a steep fall off like we did in the last cycle, where it goes from 70% eventually down to 40%. The dollar usually pretty good for crypto when it goes down. Total two, everything excluding Bitcoin rockets up. And you have things like here, Chris Kang posted this 5 hours ago talking about that, Caspa needs to be more than just degens and NFTs, but like he's really impressed with Cassia messaging, which is still just getting going. And the different things that can happen on the Casplex L2. Plus, you have Egro working on their Sparkle. So yeah, they've already had, I think, a million. I mean, they've had quite a few transactions on the Casplex L2. I've used Zealous Swap. I try to use it every day since they're going to be airdropping to people using it. Um, but basically, uh, you know, it's really hard to pinpoint. I think that part of it is that we don't know what the exact price is. Is we're gonna? I don't know. We could top out at 95 cents this cycle. It could top out at 65 cents. It could also top out at $1.95. So if you plan on taking profits, you just got to do your best to gauge where the altcoin market's at, where your project's at, and just kind of dollar cost average out. You're never going to sell at the exact top. The best you can do is probably sell part of your bag on the way up and part of it on the way down, and hopefully somewhere near the top is about the best the regular guy can do. But I think that when you see that there's people that like Bitcoin that maybe are like, okay, yeah, Caspa is pretty interesting, and you don't need them to go all in and be Caspa maxis. I think that why the kind of the one of the main points in this video, which a lot of people have talked about and I've talked about before, is that the 1,367 ish Caspa is only $103. So even some people that don't have a ton of money, most people, don't smoke your cigarettes for a week, or, don't smoke, don't drink beer for a month or something. Most people can scrounge up $100, and the value proposition there and is pretty good. So I don't know. I think that's why the narratives haven't really caught on yet, but when you're looking at an investment, it's you get pretty good bang for your buck. Who knows what it's going to be? I mean, right now you'd still take pretty good money if you had to buy a million of them. You're looking at like $75,000 if you're going to buy a million of them, which would be a pretty big investment. So there's people out there, they've been playing around with Ethereum or something else. They might move their portfolio over. If it gets up to $1 and you have a million, that's $1,000,000. If it somehow got to $2 at 2 million, I think that you'd probably need in that range to really have completely life-changing money. But I don't know. And that's just this cycle. Who knows about the next cycle? Maybe it does pretty good this cycle, outperforms the market just a little bit. And but then we go into a little bit of a bear market, and then maybe the next cycle is when all the stars align. Well, I guess that's all I got. So it seems like things are just kind of chugging along. Seems like we're waiting. I know a lot of people are thinking that global M2 money supply is going up, so Bitcoin should follow. Bitcoin leads the charge. Just interesting to see the development happening. Some Bitcoin maximalists kind of opening their mind, and a lot of us, some of us are Caspa maximals. That's all we're in, and some of us hold Bitcoin, maybe some other altcoins, but you know you don't need a lot of people to completely come over. Just people just kind of starting to put a little bit of their portfolio, just like in the traditional world, people think that if people just start putting 5% into Bitcoin, that could be a lot of liquidity coming in. So, to get up to 25 to $50 billion market cap, you don't need that. You don't need $50 billion to come in. So I don't know the metric. I don't know if you have $1 billion, 800 million. I don't know what it takes to pump it up there, but hopefully we find out. That's all I got. If you're in the United States, have a happy 4th. If you're in England, have fun working today. Thanks for watching and have a good day.